In the Pokemon TCG, energy denial cards are one of the most valuable types of disruption in the game's history. By removing your opponent's energy, you can prevent them from attacking while also running them out of resources. Since the ability to disrupt your opponent's game plan can be so impactful, many energy disruption cards have seen competitive success over the years. And at number 10, we have Articuno GX. This 2-prize Pokemon Legendary Ascent ability lets you move this card to your active spot when you play it from your hand onto your bench. Once you move it, you can also move as many water energy cards attached to your other Pokemon to itself as you like. For 2 water and 1 colorless energy, Ice Wing deals 130 damage. This card's GX attack, Cold Crush GX, lets you discard all energy cards attached to both active Pokemon. Since Cold Crush GX is a GX attack, it can only be used once per game. Articuno GX was mainly used in standard format for control decks for its Cold Crush GX attack. When playing against a control deck loaded with energy disruption cards, many players often attached excess energy to a single Pokemon that sets up attacks through energy disruption. Cold Crush GX is a fantastic tool for control decks to punish this counterplay. Since Cold Crush can only be used once per game, it does need to be timed correctly, but doing so can often result in your opponent losing too many resources or being unable to set up another attacker to close out the game. With your opponent being unable to attack due to a lack of energy cards, control decks can stall out the game until your opponent has no cards remaining in their deck, an alternative win condition in the Pokemon TCG. Legendary Ascent made sure that Articuno GX would always be able to attack the same turn it was put into play. By giving you a free way to switch your active Pokemon with Articuno GX, Legendary Ascent also meant you didn't need any other cards than Articuno and the necessary water energies to use its powerful GX attack. Not requiring a way to switch your active Pokemon for Articuno meant you had some extra space for more utility cards, something invaluable for control decks where every card in the deck needs to be carefully considered. In control decks built around Oranguru, many players would often use a single water energy just for Cold Crush GX's energy cost. Articuno and a single water energy could be slotted into any control deck as a viable tool for energy denial. And at number 9, we have Plumeria. This supporter card lets you discard 1 energy card from any of your opponent's Pokemon at the cost of discarding 2 other cards from your hand. While this card's energy effect may seem very middling, since you have to discard 2 other cards just to discard a single energy card, the flexibility provided by reliably discarding any energy card has given Plumeria spots in control decks in every format where it's usable. To show what makes Plumeria flexibility so powerful, we have to look at other energy disruption cards. A card like Team Flare Grunt lets you discard any energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, but can be played around by attaching only to your bench Pokemon until the attack is ready to be used. Team Yell Grunt could disrupt any energy card, but return it to the hand instead of discarding it. This meant your opponent wasn't actually losing a resource, but rather their game plan just got slowed down. Plumeria is able to disrupt any type of energy card regardless of where it's attached, all while putting the energy card into the discard pile. Control decks also don't mind the card disadvantage from having to discard 2 cards particularly much. Cards like Luzamine allow you to put back any discarded supporter cards of Plumeria into your hand from the discard pile. The previously mentioned Oranguru could also put any discarded cards back into your deck to be utilized later in the game. Some control decks also played strong card draw engines like Zoroark GX that helped offset the downside of discarding 2 cards for Plumeria. While it's not the best supporter card at discarded energy cards, Plumeria has a very important niche in many control decks. And at number 8, we have Yveltal. For 2 colorless energy, this card's Cry of Destruction attack lets you discard up to 3 special energy cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon. Also for 1 darkness and 2 colorless energy, Dark Feather deals 100 damage. Dark Feather was almost never used, and this card saw competitive success in many standard format control decks due to how powerful Cry of Destruction could be against strategies reliant on special energies. Since cards that recycle special energy cards in the discard pile are fairly uncommon in the Pokemon TCG, and there were none in the format Yveltal was seen play in, any special energy sent to the discard pile is a resource basically permanently lost. If your opponent attaches too many special energies to their Pokemon, a single Cry of Destruction could set you up to win the game. One popular strategy in the format, Fusion Strike, often played only special energy cards, and sometimes as low as 4 total energy cards in their deck. With cards like Elisa Sparkle, Fusion Strike decks could quickly flood the board with special energy cards, allowing for a gain determinative Cry of Destruction. Thanks to double turbo energy, the attack could be set up in a single turn, possibly letting Yveltal catch your opponent off guard if they didn't suspect the card and played into Cry of Destruction. The attack was so powerful alongside double turbo energy that even some non-control strategies like Lugia V-Star occasionally teched Yveltal if the player expected a special energy heavy metagame. Even if Cry of Destruction didn't outright win a game, the attack discarding a single special energy card was still worth using. Since control decks don't try to win the game through damage, having an attack that discarded a single energy card was more than worthwhile. And at number 7, we have Giacomo, another card which punishes your opponent for playing too many special energy cards. This card has the effect of discarding a special energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon. Much like Yveltal, this card sees widespread use due to its game-winning potential in special energy-heavy matchups. Compared to Yveltal's Cry of Destruction, Giacomo has some very notable upsides due to being a supporter card. The most obvious benefit to Giacomo over Yveltal is that you can use your once per turn attack to get some effect that isn't energy removal. Although control decks don't try to win the game by taking prize cards, there are still many utility attackers with powerful effects. Control decks built around Snorlax play utility like Luxray V for hand disruption with its Fang Snipe attack. If a player uses Giacomo, they can still have access to powerful disruption. Giacomo also lets you use cards that can proactively put cards from your opponent's deck into the discard pile. Chi-Yu EX uses its Burning Jealousy attack to discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Since Giacomo doesn't use up your attack, you can discard your opponent's deck while discarding energy cards. A control player can also use Rotom V's instant charge ability the same turn that they play the supporter card, meaning they don't have to give up on extra card draw in order to disrupt their opponent. Giacomo also doesn't take any extra steps to enable. Since Yveltal is a Pokemon, you need to attach energy cards and get Yveltal into the active spot to use Cry of Destruction. As a supporter card, Giacomo can be played from the hand whenever needed. With Pidgeot EX, control strategies can guarantee they have the supporter card in hand whenever they need to discard special energy cards. Palpad also serves as an effective means to recycle Giacomo over a long game. This is the newest card on this list, and will likely see play in any control deck that pops up in the standard format due to how powerful the effect is. And at number 6, we have Team Flare Grunt. This supporter card has the effect of discarding 1 energy card from your opponent's active Pokemon. The effect is very straightforward, but invaluable to control decks. This card's power came from the fact that it can reliably discard basic energy cards. Most energy denial effects have built-in downsides to offset how strong disrupting your opponent's once per turn energy attachment can be. Cards like Enhanced Hammer can only discard special energy cards, and Crushing Hammer needed to flip a coin to go your way to do anything. Team Flare's Grunt's downside was that it had to be your supporter for the turn, and you could only discard from your opponent's active Pokemon. For control strategies, both of these downsides were negligible. During the time Team Flare Grunt was legal in the standard format, stall decks using Wailord EX's massive HT to prevent KOs played games excruciatingly slow and could afford using a supporter card to discard energy cards from your opponent's active Pokemon. Although Team Flare Grunt could only discard from your opponent's active Pokemon needs to have energies attached in order to attack. Team Flare Grunt will almost always have energy cards to discard unless your opponent attaches energies to their bench Pokemon deliberately to avoid playing around this card. The reliability also gave Team Flare Grunt a niche and more disruptive strategies. Seismitoad EX or Trevenant decks would often play a few copies of supporter cards to disrupt energy cards while also locking their opponent out of items. In Yveltal EX decks, the supporter could discard an energy card on an early turn to prevent your opponent from attacking for a turn and put you ahead. With Versus Seeker in the standard format alongside Team Flare Grunt, it was easy to recycle the card if you wanted additional disruption at any other point in the game. This card's power came from its reliability and allowed to see play outside of dedicated control decks. And at number 5, we have Faba. This card has the effect of putting 1 Pokemon Tool, Stadium, or Special Energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon into the Lost Zone. This card's strength comes from not only its flexibility, but also the fact that cards removed by it are put into the Lost Zone. In the Pokemon TCG, the Lost Zone is a special zone that cards can only go to if an effect says it puts it there. Once in the Lost Zone, cards can't be interacted with or brought out of it. Think of it like banishment or exile from other card games. Faba's strength comes from its many use cases. One issue that makes cards which remove only special energies fairly niche is the fact your opponent may not be playing any special energy cards. If your opponent has no cards to discard, your supporter card is useless. Since Faba can also put Stadium cards or Pokemon Tool cards into the Lost Zone, it will always have some kind of utility regardless of your opponent's strategy. When this card was first introduced in the standard format, it saw play due to the prevalence of double colorless energy and other special energy cards. Putting these cards into the Lost Zone instead of discarding them also had significant upsides during this format. Many decks could play a Rangaroo to put any discarded cards back into the deck with its resource management attack. When the card removed by Faba is put into the Lost Zone, there's no way to recover it. With many decks needing double colorless energy to attack quickly and efficiently, multiple Fabas could stop your opponent from attacking for the entire game. With many control decks also playing a Rangaroo, you could reuse a single copy of Faba multiple times throughout the game. In very slow games, Luzamine could be used to put Faba back into the hand. Although the card was mostly used in control strategies, it also had a niche in decks looking to play. This card's ability to remove Stadium cards also gave it a very relevant niche in non-control strategies. During the 2020 standard format, Faba could be used to remove Chaotic Swell from the field. Chaotic Swell has the effect to discard any Stadium card that is put into play after it. If your deck relied on having a specific Stadium card in play, Chaotic Swell was an extremely effective counter. For example, Rampardos decks really needed to get Pokemon Research Lab into play as early as possible. Faba could remove a Chaotic Swell to clear the way for the Stadium card. It was a small niche, but this interaction goes to show the many different uses for Faba. And at number 4, we have Crushing Hammer and the functionally identical Energy Removal 2. These two item cards do flip a coin and discard any energy card from your opponent's Pokemon if you flipped heads. While Energy Removal 2 was in the standard format, it saw very little play due to the format not having many decks which wanted to use Energy Disruption. Even in those decks, it was an inferior disruption card to POW Hand Extension, which moves energy cards from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their bench Pokemon. Crushing Hammer has had a far more successful time in the many standard formats it's been put into. Since the card didn't use your only supporter card per turn, and could have multiple copies be used in a single turn, Crushing Hammer saw widespread use across many different decks. Originally, the card saw play alongside Durant and Sableye decks. Durant wanted to deny as many energy cards as possible before putting all of your opponent's cards from their deck into the discard pile. Sableye decks can add back ADU's Crushing Hammers with Junk Hunt to potentially get rid of all of your opponent's energy cards. Seismitoad EX decks could also use Crushing Hammer to further lock your opponent out of the game. In more recent years, Yveltal and Snorlax control decks have used the card. Many decks that tried to play at a faster pace could also use Crushing Hammer to delay important attackers from their opponent's Pokemon. While Arceus and Dialga and Palkia GX was in the standard format, Dragapult VMAX and Eternatus VMAX decks would use Crushing Hammer to try and stop a turn 2 Altered Creation GX attack. Some players have experimented with Crushing Hammer in Arceus V-Star decks to try to stop a turn 2 Trinity Nova attack in the mirror match. As long as there is a control deck viable in the standard format, Crushing Hammer will see play. And at number 2, we have Enhanced Hammer. This is an item card that lets you discard a special energy card from your opponent's Pokemon. Just like Crushing Hammer, Enhanced Hammer has been successful in every standard format the card has been legal in. Like most other energy denial cards, Enhanced Hammer has seen play in a variety of control decks. The fact that the item card guarantees a discard is invaluable, especially when it doesn't take your once per turn supporter use. While Enhanced Hammer saw play in a variety of control decks in its time in standard, such as the previously mentioned Sableye and Whale RDX decks, the card actually saw more tournament success in non-control strategies. Enhanced Hammer's massive tournament success comes to the fact it's an item card and could always be played if there was a special energy you need to remove, regardless of whether you used a supporter card that turn. Because the card would always be able to be used in matchups where a player wanted to discard a special energy, many players opted to include at least one copy in their deck. When Enhanced Hammer was first introduced to the standard format, most players were using the supporter card Skyla and means to search out a trainer card from the deck. At a pinch, you could use Skyla to search for the singleton copy of Enhanced Hammer. Even if decks weren't playing ways to search it, Enhanced Hammer was almost always a decent card to draw into. The card's incredible utility for an item card has led it to be in the winning deck lists of 2013, 2014, and 2018 World Championships. In 2013, the card was played in Darkrai's Sableye strategies that combined Darkrai's incredible offensive power with Sableye's ability to recycle key items to control the game. During the 2013 standard format, Team Plasma strategies that often played very few or no basic energy cards were very popular. Against this deck, reusing multiple Enhanced Hammers with Sableye's Junk Hunt until your opponent had no energy cards left to attack with could be a game-winning strategy. In 2014, Enhanced Hammer was used in a Virizion Genesect deck to discard an opponent's double colorless energy and use the extra turns gained by disrupting your opponent to deal massive damage. In 2018, Enhanced Hammer was a mainstay in many different Zoroark GX variants since it was easy to find when constantly drawing cards from the GX Pokemon's trade ability. Against opposing Zoroark decks, having access to an Enhanced Hammer could stop your opponent from attacking as regularly as they'd like to, and buy you key turns to set up and pull ahead of your opponent. While Enhanced Hammer was in the standard format, it saw competitive success in many different strategies and deserves to be number 3 on this list. And at number 2, we have Energy Removal. This trainer card from the TCG's very first set just lets you discard any energy card from your opponent's Pokemon. This card has had an immeasurable impact on the competitive metagame of the very first few years of the Pokemon TCG. To see how absurdly powerful this card is, compare it to Plumeria. Plumeria took up your only supporter card activation the turn you used it, and required you to discard 2 cards from your hand. Energy Removal had no restrictions because all trainer cards from the first few years of the Pokemon TCG counted like modern day item cards. Energy Removal also had no additional cost, meaning a single item card could go 1-for-1 with your opponent's energy attachment. The strength of this card led to be played in most competitive decks from the early versions of the Pokemon TCG. Both aggressive and control decks love to play Energy Removal to prevent your opponent from attacking while furthering their game plan. Haymaker decks using efficient attacking basic Pokemon like Electabuzz, Hitmonchan, or Mewtwo could use the card to slow an opponent's setup and deal large amounts of damage while they struggled to deal with constant energy denial. These decks also played well against Energy Removal because their attacks were low cost and likely to not be stopped by opposing Energy Removal. Stall decks using Lickitung were also powerful for the same reason. Even though this card is completely absurd by modern design standards, there's still one stronger energy denial card. And taking number 1 spot on this list, we have Super Energy Removal. At the cost of discarding an energy card attached to one of your Pokemon, you can discard 2 energy cards from one of your opponent's Pokemon. This card is one of the main reasons responsible for the first few years of the Pokemon TCG being dominated almost entirely by powerful basic Pokemon with cheap attack costs. If you want to competitively play any format where super energy removal is legal, your deck needs to either counter the card or abuse the card. In the base fossil format, a widely played retro format consisting of the first 3 sets of the Pokemon TCG, super energy removal defines the format. Since both Haymaker decks and Lickitung stall strategies use Pokemon with attacks that cost a single energy, they could play super energy removal to discard 2 of your opponent's energy cards and then reattach whatever single energy they need to still attack that turn. Super energy removal almost invalidated Pokemon with high attack costs during the base fossil format, and also for most formats the card was legal during. If you wanted to use a Pokemon with large attack costs, you needed to adapt your deck to deal with energy denial. In the base gym and Neo base formats, Rocket's Zapdos was both great with and against super energy removal, since it could attach energy cards from the discard pile to itself and set up an Electro Burn attack through constant energy removal. Cards like Brock's Protection, when combined with Brock's Ninetales and its shapeshifting Pokepower, let you set up any Pokemon safely from energy denial cards, and saw competitive play alongside Misty's Gyarados and Steelix for this reason. Some players use cards like No Removal Gym to force their opponent to discard 2 cards from their hand whenever they wanted to use energy removal or super energy removal, while others use Eco Gym to add any discarded energy cards back to their hand. Eco Gym was essentially important in Sneasel decks to recycle Darkness energy, a special energy you could only play 4 of at the time. There was no single card a player had to worry about more in deck building strategies than super energy removal, and so it deserves the #1 spot on this list. Alright, and that's the video. If there's any other energy removal cards you think we may have missed, or have ideas for future videos just like this one, please let us know down in the comments below.